Hello and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that's a hitting machine. And if you get in my way and get hit, it's your own fault. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to go ahead and take a look at the original Fantasy Flight English language version of Age of Conan. In Fantasy Flight games, Age of Conan, 2 to 4 players, of course, take on the roles of various warlords throughout the ancient kingdoms that incorporated Conan's world. No, you don't get to play Conan in this game, but you can have a chance to control him. Everybody's going to get a chance to control him from time to time and kind of use him to your own advantage. The game board is a map of this ancient kingdom, which looks oddly like Africa. And each player has kind of their own home territory, their own home base. Various colors around it are kind of similar. You're going to start with a number of armies and a number of emissaries. What's going to happen is you're going to try to expand your kingdom, go out and explore. And there's almost a 4x quality here, but it's not quite 4x. And you're going to, of course, try to build up your kingdom. Now, Conan is a force of nature in this game. The game plays over the course of 3 ages. Each age is made up of about 4 cards of kind of Conan's adventure deck. And what's going to happen is you're going to, at the beginning of the game, reveal Conan's adventure. Conan starts out in Cimmeria, and you're going to place the obelisk, kind of his objective, in wherever the card says. The card is also going to tell you to put out various kind of advantage tokens. Now, you're all going to bid to see who is going to be Conan or control Conan that turn. So you've got strategy cards, and strategy cards have a lot of information on them. They've got a number up in the corner, which concerns bidding, but they're also going to have information on how you can play those cards to your advantage during combat or diplomacy. But what you're going to do is you're going to place one of these strategy cards face down. You'll get to draw an extra strategy card, add it to your hand, and you've also got kingdom cards that are just unique to your faction. But you draw one of these strategy cards, you place it down, and you place a little bid token with a number on it. Then you simultaneously all flip the card and the token over. You add the token to the card, and whoever has got the highest bid wins control of Conan. That player can move Conan toward his objective, and if he does, he gets to take one of the advantage tokens. If he does not move Conan in that direction, then he does not get to take one of those tokens, but he might want to because he made aid in combat. Now, on your turn, you're going to roll a number of fate dice. There are 7 fate dice, and the first player is going to roll 7 of these fate dice. On the next player's turn, he'll roll 6. The next one will roll 5. You keep going until one player rolls 1, then you start with 7 all over again. So it narrows the choices you're going to have. And what the choices on the fate deck are things like military. You can take a military action, move armies around the board to engage in combat. You can do a diplomatic action, move some of your emissaries around on the board 1 and do something, or just move 2. Or you can do a court and Conan action. If you've got Conan, it's going to allow you to do some interesting things with Conan. If you've got the court action, you can draw cards or manipulate cards in certain ways. There's also a few other little things you can do, including take another token. Now, combat, of course, kind of depends on who you are fighting. If you're fighting other players on the board, you kind of engage in direct conflict there, and you roll dice like that. But if you're entering a space that doesn't have another player in there, you'll notice that these spaces have 2 or 3 terrain circles there. And essentially you're moving through the terrain because you're on campaign. So you move your army into the space, and armies can never have more than 5 units. You put one of these guys on the terrain type you're in. Now, the terrain type is going to essentially affect the kind of strategic cards you can play to help you in combat. But you're going to roll dice for every one of your units in there. Your opponent, or rather the person next to you, is going to roll dice for whatever that province's kind of rating is. You know, it's a number, usually 2 to 4 or what have you. they're going to roll that many dice. And you're going for successes. And of course, there's hits. There's hits only if you're the attacker, but there's also axes and shields, which normally don't mean anything. But if you play one of those strategy cards that suits that territory, that may turn the axe or the shield into an advantage as well. So you attack. If you win one of these attacks on a campaign, you can advance to the next one and keep going, but you have to remove one of your units. If you don't want to remove one of your unit, you just leave your guy there, and then you have to wait till your next turn. If you are attacked, then you and the other player engage directly in combat. Now you also have diplomacy. You have these emissaries. So you can send an emissary into kind of one of these neutral areas on the board. You can't if they got a crossbones on it. You have to take those through military means. But if you go into one of these areas and you try to take it over through diplomacy, you essentially get a dice for just for doing it. You get a dice for any adjacent territory you control or any adjacent emissaries that are out there. And again, you're rolling against the province rating. Whoever gets the most successes, it's going to determine who wins. If you lose that, nothing really happens. But if you win it, then you gain control of that region. Now, if you gain control of a region through diplomacy or through military action, you get a fort there. You've got to remove either the emissary or one of your military units to place the fort there, kind of a garrison, and then you control it. You will have opportunities to build cities on top of that. You put a little city marker on top of the fort for more advantage. Now, of course, when you win battles and when you win diplomacies, you also get gold. You're going to have opportunities in your turn, or rather at the end of an age, to buy more military units, buy more emissaries. You'll have opportunities to kind of rebuild your armies, as it were. There are also 4 objective cards on the board at any given time, and during each age, you're trying to compete to gain those cards. That's going to allow you to, of course, improve your score. And that's really what everything is doing here. You're trying to get the highest score. You do that through conquering the territories. You do that through diplomacy. You do that through meeting the objective cards. At the end of the 3rd age, whoever has the highest score wins Age of Conan. Now, that is just a very, very, very brief overview of the game. There is so much more going on here. There's plan-the-table cards. There's event cards. There's sorcery tokens that can let you re-roll dice. There's just a ton more to this game than what I am telling you here. Now, I've got to tell you exactly how this game came to be in my possession. I was at my brother's in Vegas. I'm looking at the old Fantasy Flight big holiday sale on Thanksgiving, and sure enough, I see this game, and I thought it just looked awesome, and it was really cheap. It was like $25. I thought, yeah, I'll buy that. So I bought it from Fantasy Flight Games, and of course, it arrived shortly thereafter. And it has proceeded to sit upon my shelf for about 3 or 4 years now. I never played it. I never touched it. Well, recently, of course, I reviewed Asmodee's Conan board game, which is a dungeon crawl. Same theme, but a very, very different kind of game. And I loved that, and I figured it was time to play Age of Conan, see what I thought. So, got together with my friends, we played the game. And I got to tell you, just to look at this game, area control, dice combat, cards with fun effects, the cool minis, everything about this game looks awesome. It not only does it look awesome, it looks exactly like the kind of game I love. I love these kinds of games. They are great. And so I was thrilled. I was delighted to get a chance to finally play this game. There's a lot of stuff in this game I really, really do like a lot. That campaign thing where you go through the different terrain in the different territories, and you can push your luck and keep going and keep attacking, or you can play it safe and just advance once per turn, but then you're burning your turns trying to take over these territories. I like how there's different ways you can attempt to take over the territories with the military or the emissaries. I think that's really, really cool. Different things you can do. Some of the court actions are fun with the cards and the way you play the cards. You got the strategy cards. You've also got the kingdom cards. The kingdom cards let you do fun things and manipulate the board a little bit. And I love that. I eat that stuff up. Loved it. I like the Conan adventures. How you're trying to help Conan get to where he is, and you can get rewarded if you help him, and you don't if you don't. And I think that's really cool and really interesting. But the game is fiddly. It's a fiddly game. It's almost needlessly fiddly. There are so many things in this game to stay on top of that it's like, okay, why? We can cut this out and cut this out and cut this out, and it's streamlined to be a much better game. And it just seems there's just so many little things that weren't necessary, and it was distracting, and it was like, why are we bothering with that, and how is that important? If it almost feels like, I used to belong to the Game Tester Guild of Utah, and we used to test games, and I remember some of the games we played, it was just, I don't understand why you have that mechanic. You don't need it. It's you got so much cooler stuff over here. And so that was a problem with it. Now, my second problem was the rule book is not good. The rule book is just not good. It's because it gives examples and it says things you can do, but it oftentimes doesn't say why you can do things. Oh, you can do this here and here. It's like, okay, but why? What's the advantage to doing that? And you got to hunt through the rule book to find where it says there's an advantage. In at least one case, I couldn't find an advantage to doing that. There's reference sheets that kind of say, okay, this is what the dice does, and this is what a diplomatic or an intrigue dice does for diplomacy, and this is what the military means, and this is what the court means, and that was all great. That was all well and good, but there was not in this rulebook anywhere just a simple, on your turn, do this, then do this, then do this. These are your choices. There was nothing like that. So consequently, we're kind of a little. I'm still not 100% sure exactly what the sequence of play is on your turn with regard to using Conan and then with the dice and everything. It was just a little vague for us. And I mean, we played it. We probably played it fine, but it just I don't like it when rulebooks can't just give you the basic information. It's kind of you can't see the forest through the trees kind of a thing. Right? You focus so much on this cool little mechanic that you're not really kind of showing how it fits into the larger whole, and that was my problem here. Now, again, this version of Age of Conan I am talking about is kind of the original Fantasy Flight version. Now, I think Ares Games, they have it now, I believe, which is the Italian company, and they may have streamlined it. They may have changed it up. I don't know. I haven't played that version. As it is, there was so much about Age of Conan that I liked, but it just didn't get me there because there were so many other distracting things, and it just seemed like it was a longer game than it needed to be, and it was, frankly, a less interesting game than it could have been. And I was very disappointed. I was really disappointed with Age of Conan. It's not a horrible game. I don't even know necessarily say it's a bad game. It's certainly not a broken game. But it's just not what I needed it to be, and certainly not what I expected it to be in terms of just epic coolness. It's got a lot of that in there, but it just, at the end of the day, it just doesn't quite deliver. So the recommendation for the discriminating gamer is try it before you buy it, but I gotta tell you, for this version, you probably want to give it a pass. If you like the IP, you like the theme, you like area control, and you don't mind some of this fiddliness and some of these things I'm saying, yeah, check it out. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and this is the dawning of the Age of Barbarians. The Age of Barbarians. Age of Conan. Sorry.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
In all seriousness, this means so much to me. I promised myself I wouldn't do this.